meaning is ultimately couched in some form of teleology, some form of purpose. So you understand that even if you're suffering, your life is shit, that it is for a purpose. It is for a reason. It serves something bigger than you in some way, and it's not for nothing. That's where meaning comes in. And as Jung put it, if you have meaning, you can probably bear anything. So meaning is couched in some form of teleology. In your case, the teleology here is achieving a certain state in life as an adult, like having a house, having a salary, having food on the table, children, and education, whatever. And the typical kid in a very affluent country does not have that, because they assume that that will be handed over to them. It will come by itself. It requires no effort. So you lose the teleology in that sense, because you expect that by the time you're 35, you have all that anyway, and it's not really the outcome of particular effort or decisions you make. It's how society works. So you lose that telos, and you start engaging addictive patterns of behavior earlier on, like material futility, buying nonsensical stuff, or bullying someone else, or eating yourself.
Why do those things fake the sensation of meaning so neatly?
Well, they don't, but they cover a hole. If you're engaged in addictive patterns of behavior, there's less psychic energy making you aware that something is missing in the core of your being. What a friend of mine calls the primordial knot. It's somewhere here. It distracts you from that. It's what addicts do, and that's what we do. But even in your case, the teleology of having a house with a white picket fence and a dog and 3 children and a university degree, it helps you only through the first half of life. Once you get there, your life suddenly becomes meaningless. If that's all you have, if that's all that has nurtured and provided a carrier for your sense of meaning during the first half of your life, that has a shelf date. It's going to come to an end. And that's why you see divorce happening. By the time people are 50 and the kids are out of their houses, and they know that their career is mostly behind, what they will be ever is what they already are. They're not going to be something else. They're not going to live in another continent. That's a catastrophe. And people react to it in 2 different ways. Some of them double down, like the billionaire who already has 100 billion in the bank, but still working day and night to have 150 billion in the bank. And that's just doubling down on a recipe that has failed, but they don't have any other recipe. Nobody told them anything else. No ancestor came down to say, my son, this is the way to go. No, they repeat the recipe, the only recipe they had. Others just collapse into flat out addictive patterns of behavior, suicide, substance addiction. What we lack is what our ancestors had, which was transcendent teleology, which does not depend on which stage of life you are. It's a teleology that is always there. It can never be lost. It's woven into the very fabric of nature and the very fabric of your being. And it constantly provides a sort of a stream of meaning that is there because that's how nature is. And it's unconditional in that sense. Whatever you go through, whatever happens to you or doesn't happen, you are serving a cosmic purpose. That notion of teleology that really couches meaning in a sustainable way in life, that we lost. And we lost because, to some extent, the metaphysics of materialism that we truly believed in, many still do, and to some other extent because of power play, and where people are manipulated.
And we handed over cosmology to science, which is a really strange move that happened, because cosmologies were typically the realm of myth and of teleology, and all of a sudden, particularly with the discovery of the cosmic microwave background radiation and the popularization of that in the 60s and 70s, people really handed over their cosmology to the scientists. And I think you would agree that science isn't really equipped to answer cosmic questions beyond this happened or that happened or will happen.
Proper science isn't. but popular science is, and they are stepping up to that role. I mean, scientists are becoming gurus, not good scientists, science popularizers, people who are not actually doing science, but they speak for science, and they are taken up by the media as the representatives of science, which they're not. And they are spouting out some of the least plausible mythologies ever conceived by the human mind. Physics and cosmology is awash with profoundly implausible, unprovable stuff, but stuff that makes you go, whoa, whoa, fantastic. And people latch onto that. We have a church of scientism, and it's as affected by magical thinking, wishful thinking, and myth making as any religion in history has been. I would go further and say it has upped the ante quite a bit. I don't think any religious Hindu or Sufi has ever gone to the extent of fantasizing and mythologizing that some astrophysicists and cosmologists today are engaged in under the guise of scientific speculation.
And certainty, right? Like, and just the certainty that's projected about these claims too.
It's quite amazing. I mean, let's start with trying to account for the Bell and Leggett's correlations in quantum entanglement through the multi-world interpretation. In other words, the interpretation that says everything that can physically happen does happen, and that there are countless bazillions of real physical universes popping up into existence out of nothing every infinitesimal fraction of a second, for which we have absolutely zero empirical evidence. This is the most inflationary idea that human thought is capable of conceiving. It is the least plausible idea ever produced by the human mind. And yet we have a Sean Carroll who is sitting in the chair once occupied by Richard Feynman, going around and selling books and giving talks saying that, oh no, this is actually probably the case. Yeah, that's the religious impulse coming back. We never got rid of religion. We got rid of religion nominally. Let me give you another religion, transhumanism. No, God is not there, true, but we are going to make him. He's going to be there. We are going to build him. That's the singularity. It's an AI that is so powerful it can create a better version of itself that we cannot understand. And that new AI can create an even better version of itself, and so on, like exponentially, until God